Welcome to That's What She Pled, with attorneys Christina Goldberg and Julie Luhrsen from Luhrsen Goldberg, LLC, law powered by women. It's time to shake up the old standards of law and of business. Join these two witty, intelligent, and sassy female business owners who are taking their industry by storm, challenging stereotypes and shattering ceilings. These two are on a mission to educate, empower, and support not only their own clients, but other powerhouse female entrepreneurs. Come for a laugh and stay for the vibe as Julie and Christina hold nothing back and share the truth of what it is to be female attorneys and business owners through discussion of current events, original stories, and inspiring guests. Now, on to the show.
So this is the That's What She Pled podcast. I'm Julie Luhrsen. I'm here with my partner in crime, Christina Goldberg. And today we're doing a hybrid episode. It's in-house, but we also have a guest or two. The second guest is due to arrive in a couple of days. But yeah, we are here with Neil Lyons. And I just thought we should start at the beginning before we got sidetracked with our normal fun.
Right.
Anyway, welcome, Neil.
Thanks for having me.
This is our first hybrid podcast. That's what I'm calling it. We're in-house, but we have a guest.
It's a pleasure to be really with you all on here. And I'm just excited to be able to talk to you all through this format.
This is where the Southern y'all suddenly single syllable words become, multi-syllabic.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Day by day.
Right. Well, and it's great when you really get them going. We have such a good dynamic though. And it makes sense for us to have you here with us to talk a little bit about what you do and what it's like working with us. Full honesty, by the way. Yeah. Feel free. Yeah. And we'll think about this depending on what actually is discussed. I mean, maybe that's what she pled after dark. I think it's a brilliant idea.
Well, yeah, then you may have to narrow down who you're giving it to. So the reach is a little bit different, it's a little bit narrower, excuse me.
Yeah, we may have to have one of those precautionary warnings before people start listening.
That's right.
Yeah, I kind of liken it to insurance with USAA. They don't have the best rates because, they have a narrower pool of people they can pull from. It's the same with That's What She Pled After Dark. A lot less people to actually send this out to.
What an analogy.
Yeah, that's true. Less people than our listenership already. It's good. It's good. Anyway, all right, Neil, tell us a little bit about you. So Julie and I and our probably anybody who listens to this podcast already kind of knows our story, me and Julie, and what we do and personal injury and that you sort of became our next natural fit, confusing as it is that you're a man.
Right.
And we are law powered by women. For us, it was kind of fate. It was kismet. And we already worked with you and now here you are, but talk just a little bit about what you do for us and why.
So I'm responsible for my department at the firm is the elder law department, which is estate planning, which is who do you want your stuff to go to? Who do you want your stuff to go to when you pass away? And also part of estate planning is who's going to control my assets and or my healthcare decisions if I'm incapacitated and need someone to do it for me. That's generally what estate planning is, essentially. Who's going to get my stuff and who's going to help me if I'm incapacitated. And then there's probate is how do we ensure that the stuff that you've left to people gets to where it's supposed to go? And then there's a trust administration aspect of it, which is avoiding probate, but also making sure where you want your stuff to go happens. And then, of course, there's the guardianship side of things, which is essentially asking a court to appoint somebody to oversee your assets and your healthcare decision-making. That's what I do in a nutshell.
Well, that covers quite a bit of real estate. Do you have a favorite among those? I'm sure that you love them all, but do you love one more than the other?
What's fun is estate planning and is probably the most fun out of all the three because you get to see a lot of family dynamics in play. It really is the most peace of mind granting side of the practice. People want to know, okay, this is going to be taken care of. I don't really have to worry about this. So that to me is the most fun because it really gives people an opportunity to feel comfortable about what might happen in the future.
In control.
Oh, yes. And you get to see different kinds of family dynamics too. Because
So it can
it's
be a
not
little
really,
strategic. There's
yes, yes.
strategery to all this.
Strategic, there's always strategery, especially to these things. One of the most important things too is when it comes to decision making, making sure you're picking the right person, right? So whoever's going to control your finances, that's one of the most important decisions you can make. It's one of the most important documents you have, and it has the potential to do the most damage because you're essentially granting somebody the authority to have access to everything you own. And that could be a great thing, and usually is a great thing, but on occasion it's not the best. So helping estate planning clients strategize as to who's the best candidate for that is actually enjoyable.
Is it your role to discuss with people who come in, hey, this is a really good idea, or hey, this is a really bad idea, to have this person be your personal rep, or to have this person be in charge of this trust? Do you actually get involved to that extent?
Well, as part of, the conversation eventually leads to that anyways. So with probate, so if somebody wants to be a personal representative, the person that's in charge of making sure the person that the court appoints to be in charge of the probate, of your probate, there are rules to who that person can be. So if they've been convicted or pled nolo contendere they've been convicted or pled nolo contendere or have pled guilty to a felony, they're going to be disqualified. So that's obviously that's legal advice given right there. Then there's also the practical side of things, right? It's like, okay, you have 2 children. Who do you pick to be your agent under a power of attorney to have access and control of your finances? Who do you pick? Which one of those children lives closest to you? That's a conversation we might have. That's a more practical thing. If the one that lives closest to you happens to have a gambling problem, that's probably not the best person to pick. So it eventually just leads there. The conversation typically goes there anyways.
Have you ever had a really uncomfortable situation where you said that's a really, really bad idea and they got angry?
Still do it?
They never know. I've had that conversation with people, but they never got angry. They understood. They said, well, we just don't know who to pick. I said, well, offend someone. Make sure that, don't be afraid to offend someone. Mm-hmm. Because these documents are important, but there's a lot of damage that can be done if you're picking the wrong person.
Well, then the corollary is if you have young kids, the person who's maybe handling your stuff is not necessarily the same person you want to raise your kids. If, God forbid, that eventuated, somebody may be great with kids, but not so great with money.
Yeah, it's interesting too, because you can that's exactly right. You can kind of liken that to that show on Netflix called The Crown, where Prince Philip is great with money, but Charles's great uncle, Lord Mountbatten, is better raising Charles than Philip is. So it's sort of like that. Yeah, exactly. Philip's the money guy. Lord Mountbatten is sort of the strategic fatherly figure.
I haven't gotten that far, but I have been
watching. I'm sorry.
It.
That's a spoiler. I don't know if that was a spoiler alert. I apologize. But I'm a big pop culture person, so I like to bring that into these things.
Well, it would, in theory, be based on their lives. I mean, the true story, right? I've watched all of The Crown, I believe.
Well, you should see how offended people get when you tell them what happens to the Titanic. So I'm not, and I can't believe there are people that haven't seen that movie yet. So, but I'm just going off that.
How do you not know what part of Titanic? How do you not know what happened? Just generally, how do you not know what happened?
I can't explain it without giving it away. So I'm not going to.
Okay. All right. No Titanic spoilers today.
Okay.
None of that.
Well, how about Britney Spears?
I mean, I think everybody knows what's going on with her.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you were talking about guardianships, and we were talking about pop culture. So let's see if we can't knit these things together.
Yeah, you did some blogs on that, didn't you? You were kind of following Britney through the succession of things happening to her life.
I did, yes.
And uncoupling.
What was interesting about that, actually, yes, she was under a conservatorship, what they call that in California. Conservatorship is simply a guardian of the property. It's very much the same thing that we have here. And what was interesting about that, when those articles first came out, my little sister, she's what I like to call the big TRL fan. She used to watch Britney Spears on TRL, and she said, I can't believe my big brother's writing about Britney Spears. Whoever would have thought? And it was true, because I couldn't stand any of that music. But it was fascinating what happened to her, because she
hold that thought, everybody. We'll get to it soon.
Yeah, but she was a huge, I mean, anybody, she still is a very big pop culture icon. And it's very difficult to really even find out why this conservatorship was put into place to begin with. there's, feel free to look at, I mean, to the listeners, there's so many good documentaries about it out there. Some are better than others, but I think to this day, the original court records are sealed, and they typically are here in Florida too. If you actually want to go into a guardianship file, you can look at certain aspects of the pleadings, but the reasons why someone thinks somebody may be incapacitated, that's usually redacted. You can't see it. So I'm not really surprised that we can't really figure out what's going on with why it started to begin with, but the fact that it lasted for so long was most fascinating to me.
Well, there's a lot of money at stake.
Oh yeah, that's right. And a conservator, in this case, her dad had a lot of control over it. And of course, he's going to have attorneys because he's essentially a fiduciary, kind of a pseudo fiduciary, for lack of a better word. And in Florida, all guardians typically have to have attorneys. And I imagine it's the same in California for conservators. And so it wasn't just him that was making money. He probably, who knows what he was making? I don't know, but his attorneys were certainly making money. Anytime petitions were filed to remove the conservatorship, they were all making money. They were billing money out. So yeah, there's a lot of money involved. That to me is one of the more fascinating aspects of guardianship. Something I've in that one, it sounds like it was a mental health. It was a guardianship based off of her mental health, which our system here, quite frankly, really isn't designed to handle. You know, our system in Florida is designed to handle incapacity due to dementia or significant cognitive decline.
And a lot, and with respect to you and your practice in the guardianship arena, it's not uncommon that you're involved on a pro bono basis.
A lot, quite a bit, actually, yes.
So perhaps unlike some of the attorneys that were associated with the Britney Spears conservatorship, there wasn't what I will call somewhat of a conflict of interest. Okay, this is actually a nice retainer, and I'm not saying that is what guides attorneys, but
some.
Well, I mean,
some.
I'll say it.
Money's Christy, go ahead.
Money's the lever that moves the world in most cases, so it's not surprising. I mean, it's not surprising that I mean, you know, I prefer just, you know, maybe there was a decent explanation as to why it was going on for as long as it was, other than just money. But look, I mean, it wouldn't surprise me. I mean, you'd seen she was still able to go and tour. I mean, I find it difficult to believe that a person who's incapacitated can go out and still make money, can still go out and earn a living.
Put on a pretty good show.
A pretty darn good show. And I mean, she went the Liberace route, I think, and just making a name for herself in Vegas, which was a perfect spot for her. You just want to talk about cash just flowing. I don't know how long she did that for. I can't remember, but that was a perfect spot for her. So if she's truly incapacitated, how in the world is she getting up and performing and earning a living? That's, you know, what I was most surprised by. And I think I heard some of these excuses. She spends recklessly. So
she makes it recklessly.
She makes it recklessly. She can spend it. I mean, I'd never in my life ever heard of a situation where it's like, well, you know, we allow people to spend money on whatever the heck they want. That doesn't mean we're throwing them into a guardianship.
That we're crazy. Yeah.
No,
right.
Not at all. I mean, it's I just
wasn't there something on Netflix, not about Britney, but there was some other people going around getting people to sign. I don't.
It was like
getting
an
people to sign
opportunist
documents. Yeah.
Yes, an opportunistic. It was a movie. It was great.
I think it was I Care a Lot. Yeah.
Yes, I Care a Lot. Yes, great. I'd recommend that.
That was an interesting one too, because it involved the Russian organized crime, and you know, not to the extent I've seen. I mean, professional guardians have been put under. I think that one involved a professional guardian.
Yes,
and they're put under a pretty significant microscope now. It's not as easy to get that done, and typically with court oversight, our probate judges here in like the 12th Circuit are pretty keen on what's going on in those particular circumstances. So I can say that in the 12th, it doesn't really happen. Some activists might disagree with me, but I've not really seen any indication of anything like that. They get called out pretty quick.
Excuse me. Yes, you. Thanks so much for listening to That's What She Pled. We hope you're enjoying it so far. If you have any questions or would like to talk more about this topic, you can find us at lawpoweredbywomen.com. And all of our social media platforms are listed in the show notes.
What crazy have you seen? Like, well, you and I handled a case together yeah. But other than that, have you seen anything that you just from the minute you sat down with them, you thought, oh my God, red flags. Oh,
Yeah, absolutely. It's fun. I mean, a lot of times it involves a person who has power of attorney over like a parent. And then this person decides they're going to ban all of their siblings from seeing their parent right away. That the siblings come running to an attorney, like right away they're lawyering up. And what's going on here? Why won't they let us see our parent? And a lot of times the excuses are, well, the parent gets upset every time. The parent gets upset. It's not good for them to see their children because they get upset when they leave. I mean, it's an interesting excuse.
How do they ban their siblings through legal means, as in restraining orders?
No, they simply tell the facilities that the siblings are not allowed.
Deny them access.
And then the facilities don't know any better. A lot of times they say, well, we don't want the power of attorney to come down on us, or maybe the power of attorney might move this person from here and we want to keep this person. And I mean, to me, it's a situation that's more trouble than it's worth. That's why I say to people, be very, very careful who you're picking. If it's a, it may not always be the best choice when it comes to finances, may not always be the best person when it comes to dealing with siblings.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Those are always interesting ones. And usually there's what I like to call in guardianship, there's a type 1. So second families. So usually you have a husband that's married to
blended families.
That's the word I'm looking for. What did I say? Second families. That's right.
That's accurate.
Yeah, or blended families, which blended families is probably a better description though. So you have the male spouse who marries a woman, but they've been married like 25 years. And so something happens where the children from the wife's side of the family from her first marriage think that the husband's doing something wrong. And then they go and they file for guardianship. And that just absolutely blows the whole thing out of the water. I mean, the case just blows up. Everybody's lawyering up. There's like 5 different lawyers, hundreds of thousands of dollars of money in fees. And nothing really gets solved in the end.
And family
except that the attorneys get all the money that is being argued about.
Yeah, right. Exactly. Mm-hmm. I mean, I'm sure that they're like saying, hey, thank you. I'm really happy that you all can't work this out from Atlantis while they're using their parents' money to pay for their vacation or their maybe another BMW or something like that. I'm sure they're extremely excited when they're on the lot test driving that X3 or whatever it is they're driving. But yeah, exactly. Mm-hmm. But that's all because family doesn't, that's all because family members don't know how to get along. So okay. Yeah, that's guardianship. That's always fun.
Yeah. So a misnomer, and actually it's funny because when we produce advertisements or commercials, billboards, whatever it is, we actually are faced every single time with deciding whether or not to use the term elder law, which really procedurally it encompasses what you do, but I think it's an absolute
just a part of
misnomer. Well, true, a part of what you do, but I think it's, for whatever reason, I think that there's this misconception that, oh, I need to plan when I'm older. And I think that's just a huge misnomer, right? I mean, it's best that people sort of plan when they're young and growing families. And
it's like voting, and you should plan early and often, or at least periodically.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, essentially, especially with young families, I think elder law just encompasses aspects of the law which tend to have more of an effect on those that are in our society that are elderly, and that's going to be estate planning, that's going to be long-term care planning like Medicaid, it's going to be probate and trust administration, it's going to be potentially guardianship and how to avoid guardianship, essentially. But usually, when it comes to young families, that it is never too early to plan. If you have a child that's a minor, it's never too early to plan. You're right. Elder law is a misnomer, but it's just a capturing word for multiple aspects of the law. Mm-hmm. But really, it's.
But a layperson may hear that and think that it's something they don't need to worry about for 20 or 30 years.
Oh, and most do.
In theory, I guess. I mean,
and most do, especially. Yeah, you're 100% correct. I have been getting actually more calls from younger families who have young children. What's going to happen with the young children. And what's really interesting about that is there's not usually a fight over who's going to watch these kids. It's either the husband's parents or the wife's parents. It's and there's usually no argument over that, which I am actually a little bit surprised about. But it's
Well, there may
it's
be
more,
argument. You just don't see it, right? I would
that's
think by the
true.
time they come to you, they've already had their knockdown, drag out, potentially life altering, divorce causing argument. But
Well,
by the
that's
time they
right.
get to
That's
you,
right.
you would hope that they've got it worked out instead of saving that for the conference room.
Well, and let's just be honest too. I mean, typically, if they're that young of a family between 0 and 10 years, they're married 0 and 10 years. I mean, they haven't been together long enough to be comfortable fighting in front of people. By the time you hit 15, 20, you don't really care who's in the room. You're just like, you know what? I woke up this morning and I actually didn't hate you. It's now 11:30 and I now hate you.
And
And here
now
I
it's
am as a
time to fight.
lawyer. And here I am as a lawyer saying, "Oh, this sounds typical. No problem. You guys want to be alone, or are you good?" But yeah, so like 0 to 10, that's usually that's, and maybe I'm being cynical about that, but I think I think it's because they're still a young family. Or I'd like to think of, if I'm being less pessimistic about it, it's because they already had the discussion at home, where those discussions should be had,
We
not in a
won't
lawyer's
ask you
office.
how long you've been married, Neil.
Oh, I've been married. It's okay. You can ask me. I'm an open book. Feel free to pick up my biography if you want to know anything about me. Yes, but no. The Life and Times of Neil Lyons. That's what it's called. Yes, but no. The Life and Times of Neil Lyons.
Yes.
No, I'm teasing. I've been
good.
married almost 15 years.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
I have
So
a beautiful
I-
wife, 2 wonderful kids, 2 boys who, as I
Mhm.
say, they destroy the house, and I'm still looking for my garage door because they did something with it.
What?
I'm kidding, but you know how destructive
Oh,
boys can be.
it's like, what story how did I miss that?
No, you did not
Okay.
miss that story, but it's a joke I tell because usually it's like 2 minutes alone and the house has been,
Yeah.
they've bunkerized it and hunkered down and you can't find them and stuff is destroyed.
I
It's
know,
just
but
what
the
they do.
beautiful part is that they call me Ms. Goldberg, and when they're here, they're little angels.
Yeah, no,
And so
of course.
they're great for everybody but you.
That's
what
right.
happens before they walk through our doors.
That's
What
right.
happens.
I know. I mean,
Yeah.
I've got the almost 15-year-old who no longer cares to torment me. That's sad.
Well, he's also a very polite young man too. I've met him. Very, very polite.
He is. He's good people. But yours are
Indeed.
just little dolls and little carbon copies of you in different ways,
Mm-hmm.
but both of them.
Yeah, they're
Mhm.
fun. I like hanging out with them. I suppose I don't have much of a choice, but
Yeah,
I
you
do
have
like
to
it.
say that. It's okay. You can. Well, if this turns into After Dark, you can be honest with us later.
Oh, don't worry
about
about that. I'll handle that.
That's
No, I'm
awesome.
kidding. I do like it though. I do. Yeah. No, I've been married almost 15 years and it's always, every day is a new experience and every year is a new chapter. You just think of it as you're just writing a book and every year is a different chapter.
She's an angel for
She
putting
is
up
indeed.
with you.
Yeah. She's definitely an angel.
I know.
Yeah,
She's
but
good.
she's a pretty strong person in her own right.
Mm-hmm.
That's pretty much all I have. You surround yourself with strong women. It's just the way it's just happened that way
And why
throughout
is
my
that,
life.
Neil?
I'm honestly, I don't really know. It just is. I just so happen upon them. My wife is, she's been a nurse practitioner for, what is it now? Going on 16 years. So she already had her whole life squared away. I mean, she was good to go. And I think a lot of it has to do with the fact that I've been around, in the attorney side of things, women litigators. So who are already strong and, powerful in and of themselves. They have their own thing going for them. So it just so happens to be where I've been where I've been throughout my lifetime. It just happens to be I am around strong women.
Well, it's so
You're
it's so
comfortable.
cool. Yeah, I mean, you're completely comfortable with it. You have to be to work here. I mean, listen. I wouldn't call us straight laced or buttoned up. I mean, when you walk into the office,
No,
it's
we're
sort of
fun.
like it's a serious atmosphere, except that we're fun and family friendly, and we want everybody who walks in the door to be comfortable. But we also, I mean, we have an all female staff, all female, and it is just you. And there is literally not a man on the planet who could handle it the way that you do. And
I mean, it's not. Like I say, it's more y'all putting up with me. I have a lot of quirks.
well, but I don't know. I
But,
don't
you
know.
know,
It's
it-
anybody is gonna say,
It can't be easy
yeah,
to-
it takes a lot
to be
especially with us.
surrounded. Right.
I mean, we
No, I mean-
intentionally torment you. You know that, right?
That's not that bad. I mean, it's not that bad.
But it's intentional.
I know, but I know that. So,
Okay.
you try to take it in stride as much as you can, but we're all here for a common goal. And that's what the fun part is. It's a fun, we all want to see each other succeed, and we're all part of each other's success. And,
Okay,
that's
so at the end
easy.
of the day, when you've
Yeah.
had, your fill of being around strong women, and we know you're not going to, on the drive home, put in your favorite Britney Spears track, apparently. What do you do? What do
You're
you
talking
like?
about
What kind
do
of
you-
music do you listen to unwind, Neil?
Well, I've been like for most of, I'm a pretty big fan of extreme metal, extreme metal
Yes.
music.
Is that
I mean,
what you call it? I don't think that's what it is, Neil.
No, it's like no, that's what it is. It's like a subgenre of metal. It's
There's
different.
another word. There's another word.
Well, why don't you tell me what it is?
Well, I believe it's death metal.
Well, yeah, that's part of it. It's death metal, black
Death
Actually,
metal.
I've never thought
subset of
about.
extreme metal.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
right. Black metal, death metal, and then there's grindcore, and then there's subgenres of all that.
Well, it's
There's
fitting.
like-
I mean, it's theme music for what you do, but
It is
yeah,
indeed. It
but-
is indeed theme music.
right. Don't ever ask Neil to send you songs to work out to. You'll cry.
Well, and it's interesting because it's not all the time. I mean, I'd say it's like 50 to 60% of my selection is the extreme metal, but I do love some 80s. I have a great 80s playlist. I try to share with people, that's pretty much
Hair
just
music
all,
is the best.
no, it's not even hair. What's interesting is not even like Motley Crue or anything like that. It's like the Police, it's Depeche Mode, it's
Nice.
it's New Order. So
I don't ever hear that coming from your office.
Duran, whatnot. I also like
Duran.
Radiohead
So-
too.
So listen, when your kids were little and they were having like a bad night and you thought a little music to soothe them, what do you pick?
Well, I actually, it's interesting because for them, I don't pick metal. That's the little guy loves it. Actually, my 5-year-old, the ringleader in the family, he loves that stuff. He one year said he wanted a microphone so he could sing black metal. That's what he said. But for you,
Kindergarten show and tell.
exactly.
Can you make him a little 80s rocker for Halloween this year?
I will
Do it.
actually. Yeah.
I want to see it.
But that's okay. As far as playing music for them when they're asleep, I used to actually play video game soundtracks for them that included orchestration, like the Elder Scrolls Skyrim, or there's this great song from the movie 1917. No, nothing like that. It's more instrumental.
Ping, ping.
More symphonic, more symphony and whatnot. And then there's that song from 1917 called "Come Back to Us." It's very beautiful. Score at the end of the movie there that I play for him, little soft stuff. And but yeah, my little guy is actually he also loves the album Synchronicity by the Police. He's a big fan of that album. So I play it a lot.
All right.
I had a symphonic Pink Floyd Dark Side album for Matthew when he was an infant, because we always had some sort of music playing, and he just loved to sleep with music on. And it's still, I think I have it somewhere. It's got like cartoon animals on the front, but it's a Dark Side album done all symphonic. Oh, it's beautiful.
This is like the most fun I've had doing a podcast in a long time. Sorry, I don't know if I'm supposed to say
Well,
that.
and just as a footnote, everyone, at lunch today, somehow we got on this subject. Christy hates musicals.
I do.
I don't
no
like
cats.
musicals either. I don't like
See?
musicals either,
Stop
except for one.
singing it. Just say what you
Except
need
for
to
one.
say.
Except for one. I like The Greatest Showman. The Greatest Showman, because my older son
yeah.
Luke sang that. And there's that one song. What is it? It's Rewrite the Stars. And it's, I keep
Pink,
it tear up.
Pink sings it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm not a big fan of musicals myself. My wife, which stinks because my wife loves musicals, and she's like, why don't you just take me to Wicked? And I really do. I just need to just bite them and say, take you to Wicked. Here we go. Let's just do this.
You should.
Do you
Date
hate
night.
them in theory, or have you actually attended? Like,
I've never had the experience of attending one. It's more of a theoretical thing.
I have. Don't do
okay,
it. Well, do it for
here-
Mary because date night. But
and
Yeah.
Wicked kind of it's the dark version, the dark side of Wizard of Oz.
No, that's what I'm saying. See, that's what people don't see. I
Oh.
might actually be interested in that, and because I always tell people like, Harry Potter, it's nerdy. Harry Potter is death metal. I'll tell you that right now.
What?
Black
Stop.
magic, sorcery, absolutely. It is absolute metal. So if
I'm
Wicked
sorry, the
is
score
darker,
on Harry Potter is not.
now what I'm saying
not-
is the
no.
themes. The themes.
I
Yeah,
get what you're saying.
It's,
course she
it's
does.
dark. It's not death metal.
It's
Harry
awesome.
Potter's amazing. Stop.
Well, these are all
Wait, speaking of,
cousins.
what house are you?
Oh, I'm Hufflepuff till I
know.
die.
Yeah. You have Hufflepuff. You have something Hufflepuff in your
Oh,
office, don't you?
when it was COVID, I used to have my Hufflepuff mask rolling around,
Right.
represent.
Right.
And then
No, but
I've
you
got
have like
a luggage tag on my back. Yeah,
yes, that's what it is. Yeah, it's on your laptop bag.
that's right. Hufflepuff till I die, all
Yeah.
day. But
Maybe on part 2 of Neil Lyons. We didn't get to anything. We didn't get to how cool you are, Neil, really. I mean, the awards
Well,
that you've
people-
won for all of the time that you spend doing your pro bono work, and the fact that you are indeed, we should have been referring to you as Mr. President the entire
Yep.
time you've been on the show today.
He is the
President of the
president.
Sarasota County Bar Association. And we are so exceptionally
have you.
proud of you and lucky to have you and lucky that you put up with us.
I just it's an onion type thing, a lot of layers to peel back. As
So
they
many.
say, it's no big deal though. It's being in a community just means serving that community. That's what it means. You're not really a part of, a member of it if you don't utilize your skills to serve that community.
Mhm.
It's
And-
hard
and-
to just that's my viewpoint on it. I don't mean that for as a I mean that's how I view myself.
Mhm. Well, and
That's how I-
anybody who knows you, anybody who knows Neil Lyons knows that came from his heart. Absolutely, positively that is.
And what
That's
you
the
do is
truth.
infused with your personality.
Mhm.
Yeah, it is. I
Yeah.
just like my big, if people know me too, one of my two big people in my life, my father, Mel Lyons, my father-in-law, John Sosha. Dr. Sosha was a physician. He used to go to Harlem and serve the underserved there back in the 70s. My dad served in the Navy 25 years, and they were big influences on me becoming an attorney. So, it would be dishonor to their memories if I didn't serve as well in the way that I know how.
Mhm.
Well, and it's our honor to have you serving with us.
Mhm.
It's a pleasure to be with
Mhm.
y'all. I can't believe y'all
It
put up with my nonsense.
Well, you haven't
It's
left
fun.
us yet, so we'll put up with
Yeah.
each other for a little while.
But
longer.
we can get more into the legal stuff too next time. I mean, it's fun. It's more fun to talk about like how guardianships work, talking about Britney Spears, because it's something everybody can relate to.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or at least everybody could see. So I'm happy you guys brought up Britney Spears. Thanks, Jules.
Oh, well, thanks for joining us today, Neil.
Thanks for having me. It was fun. Thank you.
You got it. So
We've got to check out now because everybody needs to go put up their hurricane
Oh,
shutters. And
Oh
buy
yeah,
their
yeah, we got to do that.
gallons
Yeah,
of
that too.
water and fill the bathtub with water and all the.
Amen.
Make sure you have batteries for the flashlight. Be safe, everybody.
Yes.
Thanks,
be safe,
Jules.
Be safe. So we are Julie and Christy and Neil. So we're lovingly referred to as Law Powered by Women and Neil.
That's right.
We are at www.lawpoweredbywomen.com, and you can get all of our contact information on the website. If you need anything, reach out, and we will talk to you next time.
Thank you for listening to That's What She Pled podcast. Don't forget to click the follow button to be notified when new episodes become available. The information covered and posted represents the views and opinions of the guest and do not necessarily represent the views or opinions of Luhrsen Goldberg lawyers. The content has been made available for general informational and educational purposes only and may not constitute the most up-to-date legal or other information. The content is not intended to be a substitute for legal advice from your individual attorney, and the information provided does not and is not intended to constitute legal advice.